Is Throne and Liberty back? Is Throne and Liberty back for me? Is it back on my radar? This is the first Throne and Liberty video from me since the video where I basically said I'm not covered in Throne and Liberty anymore. Now, I've been thinking about doing a video, what would bring me back to covering Throne and Liberty? What would get me back into it? And I think they've done step one. They've acknowledged the issues, and they have acknowledged that they're going to be fixing certain things. Now, after the Korean CBT, they were very closed and very quiet again, which has been the most annoying thing about this project when I tried to cover it, how silent they constantly are. And really, since the CBT, in the last several months, we've get maybe one article a month maximum is what we've gotten, and we've seen months without any information. They go dead silent a lot. That being said, while it's just words, and I have a tough time believing the words of NCSoft because of their track record, not just during TL development, but their entire track record has leaves a lot to be desired, for sure. But they did say they're going to remove autoplay, at least for the Western version, during the test. Fantastic news, and I can't say anything other than that's fantastic news. They've also said they're going to be improving combat and removing a lot of the static nature of it. And they've said they're going to be removing a lot of the grind. And all these things are good because if you remove autoplay, you'll have to fix combat and you have to remove some of the grind, because the autoplay and the grind and the combat were all linked together, ingrained into each other. And the pay to win was also ingrained in there. And they've also said no pay to win for the West. We've heard Korean developers say this countless times, not just NCSoft, and that not be the case, so I wouldn't get too excited about that one. Despite just being words, these are all solid things. However, I remain skeptical. Why? Because that's a lot of things to do in that amount of time. The game was built around that. The entire combat system would have had to be reworked. Every spell except for like 2 or 3 had to be reworked. The grind was very long in the CBT that we saw. So you have to go through every single quest. You have to adjust all the XP levels for mob kills. That's a lot to do. And then if you've removed the grind, what did you replace it with? Nothing? Then what? And this is the thing, when you see MMOs that change courses, and in this case, them changing courses was a great thing. It needed to happen. However, we've seen MMOs, New World is the classic example, where they pivot in their design midway through development, and it ends up being a hollow game. Of course, you all know New World was going to be a sandbox. It even had building systems in the open world. And what it looks like now, and it had a lot of open world PvP. What it looks like now is entirely different, and I don't know, it feels kind of soulless as a result. Not enough time was spent to redesign the game properly. And with Throne and Liberty, they've already pivoted before. At one point, they were basically like a Lost Ark top-down style game where you just go in and you mass AoE down all the mobs. So now they've shifted to the game they have now, which was a pretty big shift, mind you, to go from a Lost Ark style gameplay to what we saw in the Korean CBT. And now they're making another big shift. And so I just don't know of a lot of MMOs that have successfully pulled off huge shifts like this. And again, it's just hard to trust a company that thought the product that they put out there during that Korean CBT, which had no NDA, was one that would be well received. And the fact that they still have a completely closed line of communication with the players. This is a company that really needs to open up that line of communication. They need to start testing their game. It could be a closed test. I don't care if I'm in it. It doesn't matter. There needs to be people in it, though, that are allowed to give feedback. And it could even be under NDA, at least at the start, as long as the players are in there giving feedback. But this no testing, and we're going to put it out in Q4 for Korea, it's a mistake. And I know there's testing coming up, but we don't know the dates. And the last tests were all short and kind of limited in scope. They need to really open up the testing, have a complete line of communication between the players. They need to iterate on these systems, and they need to refine them until they're good, and not just throw a game out there, which is what it kind of sounds like they want to do, because I'm not sure they know what a good game is. So long story short, these are just words. I need to see it. Show us. Why are they always so afraid to show their game? Why are they always so afraid to talk? They need to test the game. I don't think untested MMOs really do that well. And I know the argument is, well, you spoil the game when you have a lot of people in testing it for months on end. That's a better alternative than having a game launch that's all scuffed because you never tested it. MMOs have to be tested. I don't care how big the studio is. You have to be in there testing the MMOs before you launch them. They're too complex. There's too much potential for exploits that can come in. We got to get in there and test it. They're afraid to let us test because I have the feeling they haven't done that much. But maybe that's just me being skeptical. Maybe that's the jaded MMO veteran. Who knows? Either way, I will probably start to follow Throne and Liberty to some extent, but I really need to see the game. And I want to see what they've actually done. With that, guys, thanks for watching to the end. I'll see you guys in the next video.